This is called Solving America's Problems, and I'm talking pretty random for time's sake. I'm going to touch on more than one subject. I'm going to touch on women, do men matter, women's beauty, how that gets a lot of likes in media. We get lots of likes and support for people who jump off cliffs on bikes and things like that. That gets promoted. They don't get deleted by Facebook or YouTube or whoever. And they don't get blocked. Their algorithms don't get blocked. That's probably a large part of it. So, solving America's problems. And I had a few thoughts run across me in time. I did a lot of other book work stuff and couldn't settle on one subject. So, I'm going to touch on a few subjects just briefly. And yeah, I'm not sure if I'll touch on the psychology of beauty or anything, but another time I might. But yeah, it is funny how uh, I can talk about solving America's problems, and I have more solutions than a lot of people, or some that people don't touch on. I'll put it like that. But it doesn't get much support, right? So that's the point I want to come to. Maybe it's about testimony. I'm not a successful person to this point. Very successful anyway, somewhat. But and people talk about. I want to talk about Christians. So part of the biggest problem is, and those 2 points tie together, is that churches, for instance, don't support their musicians. I'm not talking about me. I haven't been a musician for a long time. I just started back trying to be one again, right? But I know the best musicians out there. Marnell Harris, the best by far. No, I'm sorry to talk about, but he's the most best voice. Like if it's funny because sometimes you can't tell how different a person's voice is unless they sing together with a bunch of people. If he's singing in a quartet, he just stands out as far as how high his voice is and how strong it is than the tone does. Even more so than when he's doing a solo. But it's just impressive for people who like high note singing and stuff. And so to me, that's impressive. So, or that always gets my attention. But he should have, if there's, let's see, do we have 40 million Christians or so-called Christians in America? I don't know. We might have 200 million. I don't even know. But let's say we have 50 million Christians. That's all that go to our churches out of 300 million people in the whole country. I think we have more. Shouldn't Larnell being one of the best musicians? He is that for sure. Best vocalists for sure. He's definitely that. He's among the best, most interesting, most to listen to. Just if he was singing secular lyrics, I can't think of somebody in the secular market who has a more compelling voice than Larnell, who just did, But he doesn't get a lot of followers. He sings about Christ all the time. So here's the problem. A lot of Christians, I know how Christian churches are, and Larnell gets the cut. He gets the pass. I don't get a pass. I'm a person who hasn't lived a very good life, you could say. Except that according to economic standards and according to a lot of things, right? So I haven't stayed married and all that kind of stuff, right? But as far as promoting Christ and treating my neighbors good and sharing the truth, I do more of that than most people. But some people would say I don't qualify for it. Okay. But in Larnell's case, he's lived that picture-perfect life, and he'll admit he's not perfect and all that, but he's lived that picture-perfect life that the church folks want him to live. And he sings about Jesus. Okay, so so they do support him. The religion's side of Christianity supports Larnell, but how come he doesn't get? Let's say there's 50 million Christians. Why doesn't he have at least 2 million or 1 million who regularly, not even a million, who regularly would promote his work because it shares Christ in a worshipful manner? But church people should be a Christian, particularly if you're a real Christian, people should be on board with trying to make sure, you know, Christ's name is getting out there. It's not about putting Larnell's name out there. They should be on board with that. And he's a fun person to listen to from any measure. Now, I understand the secular world is not going to, and Larnell's not into politics so much. I don't know what his views are and all that. Now, I believe in being in politics. I like my format. I'm glad that I didn't sing for many years. And because I didn't, you know, first of all, I was a musician who struggled to make my work sound halfway decent. Whereas some people like Larnell, I'm sure he's put work into it, but it's not as much work for him it's not as hard for him to make something sound good as it is for me, I assume. But there's some people who can just sing, you know, they're just natural, right? So that's not a knock on myself, but it's hard work for me. Of course, I'm getting practiced up. It's getting easier to know what works for me and what doesn't. I've had to eliminate stuff that didn't work for my voice or whatever, and my voice is still getting a little better, getting my head voice back a little bit still. Now I'm having to lose weight. I haven't said anything, but there's something been wrong with my neck here. I don't know what it is. If it's linked to the tumor, or a clogged artery, or a torn muscle, I can't sing for a second without it hurting even. And I've had to worry, thinking, am I going to have to go to the hospital? Not when I'm singing, but even throughout the day. But that stuff, I hope I'm losing weight, hoping this improves with that. And I don't know if it's just restarting the cholesterol, if it's cleaning it out. It did that to my leg the first week. And maybe it was unclogging something, you know. But, and I'll touch on real quick. This is real life stuff. I was doing stevia extract, and I believe in it, but I got addicted to it like sugar, and I was thinking I'm going to have to go in for the tumor right away. And I've had to massage here. Still sore. This muscle sore. I don't know what's going on, but I'm on this diet, cutting back my sugar, hoping it shrinks back down, because I don't just have time to go back and forth to the hospital till I catch up on some videos. I at least want to I'm doing a lot of videos and stuff, and I don't know if I'll keep doing that, because first of all, it costs money to put it on the phones, takes up space, and but I have a lot of messages. I haven't had the time I want exactly to remember each one specifically, but I wanted to put some basic messages on the videos that can be referred to regularly, and I've come to find out some of the stuff I talk about could be a series that I argue regularly, and first of all, it won't be heard if I don't talk about the same thing over and over and over. And so I was worried I was talking about it too much. So we're talking about process, though, of solving America's problems. And I might have to turn some of my video titles into a series and then go live, say on Facebook, but Facebook's not going to let me be heard. I don't qualify to be on YouTube live because I don't have enough followers. So they won't even let me do it. And then, they block me. So eventually, but this is okay, because eventually I may, if I can keep my life functional, which I've had a problem being a functional person. But if I can keep my life functional, I have to maybe go traveling, or the easiest thing I can do is think of buying my books, or my own books, and sharing them with people here and there. But I pay full price. I don't get a author discount because I can't get into my account at this point still. Something wrong with that, and I still hope that gets fixed. But I have one book that's on sale right now, and maybe I can buy it, and I'm sharing it with just a few key people. I buy it and give it to a few people. So it's on sale. My Don't You Want a Better World book is on sale. Right? I hope it's still on sale. It's 60% off, $4 and something. I just got 2 books. That's what I could afford, because I want to give one to a friend in a nursing home, but in her 90s, she's older. But so there's a few key people I know I can share with at this point, and then I'd like to share with a lot more people when I get caught up more on my finances. So, but the Bible, obviously you can share the Bible, but my books put the Bible into practice. You know, it highlights what we don't highlight, that Jesus highlighted. Love your neighbor. You know, He highlighted that stuff, right? He sharing and warning about hell. Christ highlighted those things. Store your treasures in heaven, not on earth. All right. So here's a problem that people have, and I know this from when I was younger. They look at Christian musicians in the church and say, does he mean it? I'm not sure if they mean it. Are they sincere? Is he really, really meditative and deep about singing and thinking about Christ? I'm not going to support him. Well, let me tell you, that's a little bit, you could say it's overthinking and everything. And in a way, because you got a lot of musicians out there who are sacrificing and sharing Christ's name with the public through an attractive venue. Music is attractive to the emotions, the senses. It's a natural therapy without God in it, without God's words in it. It's a natural therapy. You know, of course, some people use it to sound like a bully. You know, they use styles like that, and that's not good. It can sound fun because they have a beat to it, and it can sound sexy. You know, and then some people think it's bad. I've been seen where people think God wouldn't have drums in his music. I think he does. He has thunder and lightning, doesn't he? So we can use the similar styles in music, and I'd like to, and that shows God's power. So people like to use music to show they're tough and powerful. They use the drum beats to show they're tough and powerful. How much more powerful is God? Use the drums, man. My style of singing, you know, you could make a song that fits my natural style. I can't change too much. You know, it is what it is. So I do better with some soft stuff. It varies. I have a weird voice in a way. But, so you have mechanically, I'll say this, like I'll sing and I think it sounded one way and I listen back to it and I'm like, that didn't sound like what I was trying to make it sound like. So it is hard for me to do some things, right? And then I'll sing a song I thought didn't sound too good. I'll listen back to it and I'm like, hey, that one worked for me better than I thought. But yeah, so drums are fine. But the point is, look, you're overthinking, overly judging. I mean, we don't want a hypocrite. Now, people think a person who's had some failures and faults and struggles in life is a hypocrite. That's not a hypocrite. A hypocrite, that could be a carnal Christian, and people don't want to elevate carnal Christians. But I don't know. A carnal Christian, though, would be somebody who does not repent and doesn't keep trying. Now and then some will say somebody failed here or whatever, and they went back to it. They weren't truly repentant. That's not true. You know, that's not true. If they keep getting up and trying again, that's not a person who's an active carnal Christian, right? Maybe they didn't find any friends in the Christian community, no support, and any friends they find wants to take them off their work, the work they know they're supposed to do for Christ. They want to take them off of that. So you have to watch out for friends today. But what they do is they overthink, bottom line. And then they might not be a real Christian themselves if they can't see the importance in supporting Christians. First of all, every Christian is not going to be the outspoken when they don't have the gift of evangelism necessarily. So I'm not saying everybody has to go out and speak, but until some degree, everybody needs to speak up for Christ, or they got to question, do I really believe in Christ if I can't stand up for him? And you're going to go through feeling super rejected at first, and then you eventually, that takes a long time to get through that. Maybe a long time of doing it. And then you get past that and you realize you just got to keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it, because people live and die every day. 100,000. I forget the numbers. I heard Billy Graham put out some numbers just 3 days ago. I can't remember the numbers that he gave on an old video. He told the statistics back then, how many people die per day, per year. And it's not about my testimony. It's not about your testimony. It's about Christ's testimony. That's the thing. You talk about Christ's testimony. You talk about life and death. You get past all the semantics and everything else. That's the way I've learned to do it. And, and you trust it. Christ rose from the dead, and you trust the facts. Amen. So what they do, they overthink. And the fact is, these Christian artists, I can think of one that I completely don't trust anymore. I forgot her name. But then wonder if she's really Christian, right? Because she can't tell the truth. So that's a sign of somebody, she believes lies and loves lies, all right, of the Democrat Party. Look, and I forgot her. What is she saying? Anyway, she started supporting Black Lives Matter and stuff. And she was a Christian that had an Easter song. And she doesn't side with the police when somebody fought the police. And I agree. I don't side with the police on a lot of stuff, but when it's obvious it wasn't the police's fault and it was the criminal, they're a criminal. If you attack the police, you're a criminal. That's all of a sudden. So I don't like calling people criminal, but I know what a true crime is now by my own definition, which is a real definition. It's when you break the Ten Commandments. That's a true crime. When you steal from people, some specific true crimes. When you're stealing from people, assaulting people, those are true crimes, right? And so this person's supporting the assaulters and the thieves, and sings for Christ and won't listen to anybody, thinks everybody's being a racist who disagrees with her. She was a black woman married to a white man. So, it got me baffled. So how do you not see that basically it was an Islamic group running? Some people like to call it a lesbian woman. It was mostly Islamic based that ran the Black Lives Matter lie. They didn't care about black lives, first of all. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with saying Black Lives Matter, but the group that were pretending that Black Lives Matter to them was for criminals only, really. And they're Islamic based. It is mostly Islamic based, and now they're defending Palestine or Hamas over the victims in Israel that were attacked by them. So that's who they were. That's who I've seen some of the people defending the Hamas side instead of Israel. Come on. So Christian artists, so to bring that point back into perspective, they're up there singing about Jesus, not Allah. That's the point. So I listen to that lady's songs. I don't promote her much but she still sang a good song with good lyrics. But that's an extreme, though. I'm talking about, I listen to Sandy Patty. I don't want to bring up any dirt, but something happened and she got remarried. So she went through a divorce. Yeah, I'll still listen to Sandy Patty. She's singing about Jesus. I don't like when she sings with the Mormon choir. And nobody's ever said much about that. But, the people who don't get involved in politics have a learning curve. She probably doesn't realize what the fault in that too much. I hadn't put much thought into it. But they sure had a nice choir. But Mormonism is against Christ. So that's a big, actually an extreme point where I would question, I'm not going to sing with the Mormon choir. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say, y'all don't even believe in Christ. How y'all singing with Christ with me? You actually specifically oppose him. You're asking me to elevate your teachings when it's a false teaching. So it's a specifically false teaching. But for people who have had problems, sins that they were caught in and stuff like that, and they're still talking about Christ. It's about Christ's testimony, not their testimony. It's not, and so everybody's going to die, and we need the words of Christ being taken out there. So I don't want to support somebody who sings and then votes Democrat. I don't, because Democrat is anti-Christ. It's anti-family. It's anti-one human race, and then lies and calls the people who believe in one human race racist. It's the opposite. If you don't believe in one human race from God, Adam, and Eve, and Noah's family after the flood, you're the racist. All right? That's real simple. So that's a message I may have to do over and over and over again in different places. And the videos, I might be blocked from it, doing it videos somewhat, or at least my algorithms. And I may be blocked from a lot of people's pages, just personal pages that are on, and I wish I knew who so I could switch them out. But because I've done just so many videos and people don't want to see that much and they just block it because it's just too much, right? But I don't know how that works. I put my stuff up. So 1 hour somebody's on, another hour somebody else is on. So when I have a lot of stuff to share, and then I'm finding a lie after lie to expose, and I post, and so I'm thinking, well, at least one person will see it after an hour. So people should share. If you're a Christian and you see the truth, I admit, now, I don't think that people are so much wiser than me that the reason they're not sharing is because, well, if we share this truth about Christ, we expose this lie about the Democrats, that if we all do it and just do it a little at a time, then we'll all get blocked. Or if they all share my post, then I'll become too popular, then they'll block me. So I do like not being popular because I want all the people who go out and do get some views to feed off of some truths on my page and some stuff they didn't see. Oh, I forgot about that line, that line. There's so many of them. Nobody can remember. Even the valedictorians can't remember them all. Because they don't have time to. They might could remember it, but don't have time. So I expect if people don't want to feed off of stuff that I've said, stuff that specifically shares Christ and shows that Christ is real, evidence of Christ, it goes straight to the point and surpasses every problem we have. If they don't do that, then they don't support Christ, right? They don't support Christ, or they support the Democrats making speech slaves out of us. That's the video I was going to do, calling myself a speech slave. And we're speech slaves. I don't know if I'll touch too much on that right now. I'll keep going with the flow here. But I may make this a short video, by the way. I may try to remember something about speech slave. So it's hard. I had the idea yesterday sometime. Didn't have time to get to it. And I had some good points on it, which, do I remember those points? Well, some of them. But that's how it goes. But some of these points are very applicable to certain people who've never heard them before, if they'll stop and listen. So here's the thing. So you say we had a Christian community that shares Larnell Harris, or shares. I'm not saying he's the only one, but you should share all our Christian artists, the ones who are, in a sense, more qualified than me or have more ability than me. I'll put it like that, to be mostly singers that go on stage, travel, have their finances together, found support, were able to come up with songs faster than me over the years, or have a stack of songs that are good songs to promote Christ, and peace and worship and the peace of that, like the Gaithers, all those people, everybody should share those guys whenever they can, or at least do something. That's somebody who's, you could call it taking up the cross and gone out, and they're out there standing up, taking a risk in a sense. A lot of times it's not too risky, I guess, but they're taking a risk of being rejected. They've already gone through that. It's second nature to them. They know what they're doing, and the Christian community hardly ever shares them. But they tune in to, of course, what they see on Facebook. I do it too, because that's all there is. I turn it in. Well, you see pretty ladies' pictures. I'll click like. Sometimes I've clicked like to let them know, hey, well, you're showing a picture. I guess you want somebody to tell you you're pretty. You look good. That's debatable. I'm single, so I do that. If I was not single, I wouldn't do it. But, so the thing is, that's a confusing thing, because that's the point I want to bring up. We'll just go to that next point. But I just want to reiterate first, real short, that we look at these musicians and we want to judge, not share, or whatever. Doesn't make sense. They're singing about Christ, not Allah. They're not singing about Allah. They're singing about Christ. That's plain and simple. They're not singing about Buddha. They're not singing, okay? Minus a few of them. If you think that's the only time I don't want to share them. If it's somebody that skews in their politics, they're not denouncing Allah, Buddha, Islam, and all that, then I'm questioning to share them. And I'll be honest, even Larnell Harris and some people like that haven't gone out of their way to denounce false religion. They always say Jesus is the only way and all this, but they won't. It's political, I guess, to denounce the other stuff. But the ones that I want to support are out there. If there were more of them denouncing that, and so I like the way my life's worked out, and that I got into politics first, and then came back to music, and then whether it's small, what I can do with music is small or big. I never did want to be a singer. I did want to when I first went to college before I was sexually assaulted 30-something years ago. I went down a pretty long, lonely path after that, and I've done a lot of worse things than that myself. I thought, well, I can't say I've never done this before, so after that. So, or when I first was given drugs and somebody lied and told me it was an over-the-counter drug, I was like, well, I can't say I haven't done them anymore, so what? I've tried them after that, so I was pre-exposed, you could say. And so I did, and I'm like, they're lying anyway. There's no sin in using medicine. And I know that to this day, that's a trick. It is a trick. It's not a sin. And most of the church has fallen for it. And they've used the trick to empower the drug cartel. They've created a drug cartel by demonizing medicine, right? And so the best way to solve that, though, is to give scientists a license to actually study and make safer medicines out of medicinal plants that grow on the ground instead of letting the cartels own every single one of them, right? So, and then the feds need to support that. That doesn't mean you legalize it specifically for people to use, but you legalize the scientists who have a license and telling them to make safe forms and are regulated so as to make safe and consistent forms, that they do that. And there's no way it would be worse than what it is today, even if the cartels still kept stealing it and doing that. What they do, it'd be safer in the streets even. And that's the point. When it comes to that, it's a risky thing. But you crack down on addicts after you do that. First of all, you crack down on addicts once they legalize it. But how do you do it now when it's all mayhem and you don't know who's who and all that kind of stuff? So, but yeah, you shouldn't abuse of medicine, but it's not the unpardonable sin, and it exists. It's going to keep growing in the ground. So why not regulate it? Why not have it in the right hands and scientists' hands who are expected to? They're going to compete. There's going to be good and bad scientists, but the bad ones will then have to compete with the good ones, right? So, but the real issue is not even the medicines as much as you have killers dealing it, you have thieves dealing it. So the killers are the ones that put the poisons in them, first of all. But the killers kill people over money, and that forces, believe it or not, a lot of people. And people, they're like, no excuse, no excuse, no excuse. But that forces people, or traps people sometimes, who are not really interested in the drugs, into being in that system and using the drugs. And they'll use them because it does help you forget about the bullets that are flying over your head. It does do that. Those things do. And sometimes, and they help you forget about the fact that if you're a man, no woman ever liked me. I couldn't find the right woman to match. Or a female who could never find a nice man, and this and that. That helps people get past that. Maybe not in a good way sometimes. But that's how medicines do work for stuff. I mean, that's... So I'm saying, but when they're forced... most people won't give into a medicine for that reason, if it's not forced upon them. But the system we have now forces it upon people. Pretty much forces it. So that's the thing. So it's not true. There's definitely going to be problems if people did it the way I'd say to do it. They're going to have battles. They're still going to try to poison medicine. They're still going to do all that stuff. But they won't have as much power to do it. So they won't have as much power. And so who's going to want to buy from them when they can go get some safely? So that's the question. Will it still be able to get? Will they ever have it where they can get it, or just leave it in doctors' hands? And doctors aren't very ethically smart or philosophically smart about this stuff. So you have to have. I think you should have different kinds of doctors that do understand that stuff. So, but anyhow, and then quit suing psychiatrists and quit suing doctors over medicine. The rule law should be you be responsible for how you use the medicine. That's you. It's on you, man. So, and toss it when you're done with it. But they should be a lot safer and weaker, by the way, too. I don't know. There's other ideas. Put them in a big bottle, make it only real weak so they can't overdose because they can't fill their stomach up enough to overdose. It's too diluted. That's an idea I came up with and sent back to Obama's White House a long time ago. So it's that's a lot of work, though. Would it ever transfer? Did they see that idea? How many times did I send it? I sent it quite a few times, I guess. I mean, I didn't just send it to Obama. I sent it other places. They're probably thinking that's just not feasible. But so that was a side point. I said I'm going to go to the women thing. I forget. I might close the video here. It's at 31 minutes. But maybe I'll make a point on that real quick. Men's lives matter too. A woman can go on the video, never say one good thing, and not even support good things. But sit there and like this. And look pretty and get millions of views, millions of likes, not just views. And then the weird part is the Democrats are the ones making money off of that. Well, they call men dogs for thinking women are pretty and all that if they want them in a relationship. Only if you want to date a woman in a relationship, monogamous, then you're a dog. You just want her to be your slave. But here they are, using social media to push whatever they want, and using women's beauty in a sense. That's who they post the most. And like I said, people who jump off cliffs on bikes. Men who jump off cliffs on bikes, maybe, perhaps. Women do it too. But, and then they land somehow, and then everybody claps because they did it and they stayed alive. But they did a flip on the bike. I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. But it's good. That's competition. So we do stuff and compete and push the limits of physical limits and all that. And we challenge people to be competitive and compete and work like a slave to do those things. In a sense, right? And when you say like a slave, how hard do slaves work? They probably, even slavery, how hard did they want them to work to where they couldn't do much? They probably didn't work people as hard as we do, pushing people to compete, because they don't want you injured. If you're somebody's slave or employee, but nowadays employees, they don't care if you get injured. They'll be rushing you, and all this because of competition. But in the day, they probably did make sure the slaves didn't get injured. In all slavery, I'm not talking about American slavery. That did come to mind. But in all slavery, anytime you have slaves, you don't want to work them. There's some crazy slave masters that would do it, maybe, but you don't want to overwork somebody to where they can't perform or they get injured. You want them to be able to do the job for you. That's the purpose, isn't it? I mean, but same thing with employees today and stuff. We've fallen for this competition, and you got to be so fast and hard. We end up getting people injured, and then how good are they after that? I mean, look what you did to them. Now, obviously people naturally can get injured easily, but so we promote that, and Facebook promotes those posts, and those are interesting posts. Obviously, they're going to catch the eye, and they're non-political, non-spiritual, in a sense, and they should be politically talked about to warn people not to do this stuff at home. People get mad when you say wrestling is fake, and it is staged. They'll punch it. I've seen videos where they punch them in the face, slap them in the face. Is that fake? How dare you call it fake? And but they're staged. They'd be dead if you did a lot of the moves they do over and over. They do get injured. It's not fake. It's not fake stunts. But anyhow, just this kind of talk I think is good for society because I'm putting some truth out there. A lot of people will quit talking, don't say anything. Well, you've been tricked. We don't talk enough about except for Democrats. Democrats are allowed to talk all over TV and talk stuff that wouldn't even make sense. Practical things. I talk about practical things too that come out when I'm talking, and that make sense about how to eat or whatever, about my tumor, about whatever. It's good for people to hear real talk and stuff that makes sense. And I admit, in the Christian community, in families and stuff, they don't like the people that make sense either. Because anybody doesn't. Because not once they're in their zone, I mean, they don't want to hear this. Their rest period might be watching a fairy tale or something, right? Nobody wants that interrupted. That rest, and people do, in those settings, people feel attached while they're watching TV, I guess. But, but the fact is, we got to take care of our temples, and we fail at it, but you got to keep trying. And if you don't, there's consequences. You eat too much, you're in the bathroom too much. I mean, come on. So, amen, brother. So, you got, anyway, I'm going to go. But, the beauty of women, so I've touched on this before, the psychology of it. God did create women to be pretty softer skin. Like a kitty cat, curvy, flow to them, their nature and all that. And so, that's to a man that's attractive, but you're only supposed to have one woman, and she's only supposed to have one man, and Solomon is no excuse. He was backslid in the state at the point that happened, but he had, 2,000 concubines, and I don't know if that's really considered wives. Those are maybe maidens or what, but apparently he was in a backslidden state at the time, and he only talks about having one woman, that you're supposed to have one woman and stuff. That's not so if he did wrong on that, that's not a qualification for us to do wrong. He taught good things, and I don't know the story of how many years he lived by that. If it's somewhere to find, it might be in 2 Kings or Chronicles. So that's something I haven't looked at when I was reading and reviewed much. I just don't have time for it, because I don't use that to qualify or discount the Bible or qualify me sinning like I do. I always run into some like Islamic-based men, and they always want to point out Solomon having all these wives and stuff, and I'm like, that's not a qualification. That's not the Bible qualifying that. So, anyhow, but yeah, the beauty, it does obviously get likes and social media, and it is, but I point this side of it out, that it is unfortunate that people can watch sports and tune in to beautiful women all the time, and which is not hard to do. I mean, I notice them too, right? I'm single though. Even if I was married, I would have to notice them, and I'd have to say, "Oh, let's slide that one across." And being single, I can't just gaze all day either. But I can look and say, I wonder if they have anything in common, because so Ghetto Bob. I was going to bring this up. Should I call myself Ghetto Bob? And go back to, because I haven't found much support as far as doing politics from Christians and stuff. I haven't found all that, so I'm like, I think I'll just go on being Ghetto Bob, because I ain't finding no friends in the Christian community. And not that I want friends, I'm too busy, but at times I can't get advice. I can't pay somebody $1,000 for advice. I've tried it before. I couldn't get advice. That's our society, partly. That's not just the Christians. But, and I have it's political in Christianity too. I keep people out of my business and family business and all that kind of stuff. And, that has to do with just to make it so I can just keep doing this kind of work, this stuff, so so it doesn't hold me up, mostly. And then some people that I know don't want people in their business. So I don't necessarily agree with it all the way, but on the other hand, I've let people in my business before, and it held me up for a long time, and it was unnecessary, and people might be hating on me. So, family, I'd say family influence that I've had keeps people out of it. There's a protection with that sometimes. So I'm not saying it's all good, but I forgot my other point right before that, and I guess it's because I didn't eat again. I'm trying to lose weight. And not anorexic. I'm 200. I'm still, with my shoes on, 209 9 pounds today, 211 yesterday. But I was up to 221 or 222, I forget, or 223. 221 at least a few weeks ago. And I need to get down to 180-ish, 185. So I still got 10, 20, almost 30 pounds, 25 pounds to go maybe. I'll feel good after if I'm down 25 pounds, but I'll actually feel good if I go down to 198 with shoes on and 195 without shoes. I know I'm going to feel good and think, oh, I don't have to keep pushing so hard on my diet, and I'll feel pretty good, better. And but I really need to be down to 185 with shoes on, I'll say. Then my shoes have support, so they're heavy shoes. I'd say I did weigh in at 203 the other day without shoes. So then I was 210, I think, with the shoes. I think maybe 212. That's how heavy my shoes are. But anyhow, but I sure don't feel like I'm 203. I still feel heavier than that. As far as, I gained weight so fast. When I started doing videos, that's when I gained weight. When I started doing more, making the Christmas songs and stuff. Not the recent ones, but the first batch of Christmas songs. So during that time, and I'm trying to make videos, thinking I might have to go to the hospital soon and I won't be able to make videos. And it was so bad that, like, if I get out of bed, it's like I think I'm going to pop a hernia in my stomach. So that's how fast I gained weight. And so the hernias, I'm feeling better with the hernia thing, and better in other ways, and trying to starve the tumor of sugar, except for honey. But yeah, I've learned it's a waste of money to me to buy maple syrup. I'm already getting sugar from honey, and honey does more things. I know there's some good things in maple syrup, but the stevia extract is too addictive to me. Well, maybe if I do know I started hurting, but I was eating it like candy, thinking there's no calories, but I used it to keep me from cheating and doing something else. It comes to find out, my head starts hurting. Because sugar grows. It's not necessarily a sugar. It's an herb. It's supposed to be healthy. But sugar is sweet. And cancer feeds off of sugar. Or even fatty cysts or whatever this is. I've got a few fatty cysts. I've had them tested and they were not cancerous in the past, but I don't know. They grow when I get fat. They shrink when I get skinny. The fatty cysts. So that's how it works. But so it can be the same with tumors until prior to them becoming to a malignant state where they grow and all that. So I've studied those things, and I'm can't go into that right now. But sugar, they feed off of sugar. So that's why vegetarian diets with no sugar works. So, but I'm taking a chance and still going to do a little honey, but I've cut way back, and I'll take a chance and I'll do blueberries, strawberries, sometimes bananas. So at least they're tied into the sugar in those are tied into antioxidants that kill the cancer. But you still don't want too much sugar, according to some people. I'll do carrots, and I get more carrots. I forgot to do that recently, and carrots, but that's beta carotene. It has some natural sugar in it, carrots, but it's one of the best things they say for cancer is carrots. So carrot juice, people do the carrot juice. I'm not going to take time to make carrot juice. I'll get it in my vegetable juice, V8, or when I want to eat spaghetti. I like to mix vegetable, instead of buy the sauce with the high fructose corn syrup and all that, I like to buy a vegetable juice and put it in my spaghetti. And do real garlic and onions, and maybe try to aim to do it, twice a week, but I may do it 3 times or 1 time, in a week. Spaghetti. So the other way to get juice, anyway, I'll find other ways too. Anyhow, I'll go, and I just can't remember that point I wanted to do, but I don't have time, and I'll let it go. I'll do another video. 1 John 4:8. He that loveth not knoweth not God, for God is love. 1 John 1:8. He who says he has no sin makes God a liar, and the truth is not in him. 1 John 1:9. But if we confess our sin, he's faithful and just to forgive us our sins and cleanse us from all unrighteousness. Adios.